All right, let's go to Umeda Station and go see the first 4 episodes of Spice and Wolf. Oh boy. Well, we did it. I did it. Went to Osaka, went to Umeda Station, saw the first 4 episodes of the new Spice and Wolf anime from 2024 in theaters. Super cool just to be there with other fans, just to see stuff. To have the opportunity to go to these promotional events that you would never get to in any other country. Um, just the fact that they do it, it's the coolest thing in the world. I'm sure I can put some photo evidence of that, some video on before this. Anyway, I've got a bunch of notes here. We are going to talk about everything. Took notes while I was watching, and you guys put a couple questions from the Spice and Wolf subreddit on Reddit that I made sure to note and jot down, and I have a couple really good examples. No spoilers. Not that there's anything to spoil. I think that's the first part we can start at, is that the story is, yes, the first book, the first light novel of Spice and Wolf, right? The currency scam with the Trenny silver coins. It is done almost identically pacing wise as the original anime. I'm sure many of you were expecting maybe them to switch it up, maybe speed it up, maybe get through that first story arc in 4 episodes so that they could cover 3 entire story arcs in the first, 12 episodes, but that did not happen. I checked very deliberately the old anime and made sure that I wasn't confused. And yes, the pacing is identical, more or less exactly. The 4th episode ends with Holo being kidnapped and the hares, the ransom note, being delivered to the Medio Trading Company. So that is exactly where it ended in the new version. There was a weird post-credit scene, but anyway, there was one big difference. Let's start here, and this is the first thing you're going to see at the start of episode 1. And boy, I was almost crying before the opening credits rolled, because they have a what I can only describe as a fan service intro to this new series. I won't spoil it for you. It's out there on the internet if you really want to know what it is, but I won't deprive you of it here. I'm sure if you're familiar with the franchise and know lots of stuff about it, I'm sure you could probably guess what is at the start of this one, but it really provides context for the rest of what goes on, because it very deliberately feels like a fan passion project if they started off with this particular scene that they do. So going in, that's already giving good vibes, right? Like that's for everybody who knows and is familiar with the franchise and has kept it alive and beloved long enough for this new anime to be made, that, yeah, hey, we see you. They're saying the producers of the anime are saying, hey, we see you, we know you. And that felt good. That felt good to me. A little heartstrings pull. I will go on to the opening, which was the next thing played. Very enjoyable. I will say right away that I don't know that it exceeds Tabi no Tochu. I think that's what the Japanese title was. The first Spice and Wolf opening. That's a very high bar, right? It's literally one of my favorite openings of all time. So I don't know that it gets there, but it has aspirations too. And I will say that while the song may not hit the same high notes, the artistry on both the opening and the ending songs, 10 out of 10. Beautiful, beautiful. They have this elaborate kind of like watercolor painting that it comes in on. There's lots of, emotive expressive art in that opening, and you guys, whenever they release it, you're gonna love it. Um, was not disappointed in this regard with either the opening or the ending. I'll talk about the ending right now. It's revealed just a couple hours ago that it's Claris doing the ending. I didn't know the singer of the opening, but yeah, the ending in the same way does not feel like Wolf Whistling Song, or right. It's no Seven Apples on a Witch's Tree, but the song was very enjoyable. And the animation, the one I will equate it to is the Little Witch Academia TV series ending. It felt kind of like that, but with a bit more picture book animation, kind of. Or if you've seen Flip Flappers, that ending too. Um, so good vibes there. Yeah, definitely heavy hitters in contention for opening and ending of the year for 2024. I would say, yeah, and very evocative of what's come before. In the opening, we do see Nora. Yes, that's we see her in the opening and the ending, and all the other minor characters for the first two stories. So pretty much confirmed, ends in the same place, right? With the sheep storyline. So yeah, that's the first two things I'm going to say. Pacing same, opening and ending similar, very good. Now this experience was kind of weird for me, right? Because I'm going to Japanese theater, and obviously it's going to be the raw Japanese, and my Japanese is nowhere near good enough to be able to understand and watch anime raw. That's part of the reason why I'm here in the first place. But on the same token, on the same on the same wavelength, I was really thinking like, wait, I already know this story. I've read the light novels, right? I have read the manga. I have watched the anime many times. So I didn't really need any help knowing what exactly they were talking about, right? Obviously, the currency devaluation scheme is the big issue in the first bit. Um, but it was really weird to not only, be watching the Japanese, but kind of be upset at myself that I couldn't understand more of the nuances. So if they changed anything like tiny with the plot, uh, maybe the line reads are of course all new and everything, but I didn't see anything major changed. Except this is true. I wrote it down on my little sketchbook. We have Yare. That's right. That's right. What's her face is out. All that talk about, Lawrence, you were a big merchant influence for me and everything. That's all. That's the character of Yare again, because they changed Yare to be. Man, I should have done the research to figure out what her name was. For Chloe. Chloe, wasn't it Chloe? It was Chloe, right? Yeah, Chloe. So they changed Chloe back to Yare for this new release, which feels confident, right? It feels Chloe was only made female because the showrunners thought that it might be a better way to evoke emotions if there was another female character contrasting with Holo, and you know, um, having a male character without that dynamic loses a little more tension. But I think that shows faith in the original material, and that you can figure it out. So I'm very interested to see Holo bite Yari in half or whatever. He doesn't die in that right now. I don't think so. All right. I think another thing that a lot of people front and center on people's minds is the animation style for Holo. Now, I will say, when I went back to do the research for this before recording this, that I watched some of the episodes of the original anime after watching the new version, right? And it's all the same people, right? It's most of the same creative directors, right? The same director, Studio Passione, is now the people that made the original, even if it wasn't called Studio Passione back in the day. So the artistry is much improved. I will say this right now, and that's like shouldn't be that crazy of a statement. If you be honest with yourself and go back and look at the original Spice Wolf anime project, I get that it has its charm, but at the same time, it's real rough. Not saying that the new version is mind blowing, it's not among the pinnacle of animation, right? Just aesthetically. But the character designs, people were worried for Holo being Moe. Not the case. Not that she's not Moe, but it totally feels like Holo, and it reflects perfectly on her character. The stuff they showed in the trailers was her being a little too cutesy, and she doesn't feel that way in the show. It just feels like Holo. I know the design's different, but do not worry about it. Put your mind at ease. It's totally fine. You'll be totally fine with it after like 5 minutes. You won't even notice anything. Lawrence and all the other characters look much better as well. It's just overall the show the show looks better. Now there is some CGI, and you can see this in a couple of like crowd shots. Spice Wolf, very, very, very many wide shots, very many crowd shots, CGI crowds, CGI walking people in the background. It is what it is. It didn't ruin it for me. I was only probably noticing it because I was looking very closely at it. That and the CGI cart sometimes felt a little. Compositing was a little wonk, but it's not anything to write home about. And I will say the art direction, I loved it. I loved the general look of everything, the wheat, the dreamlike feel on a lot of the scenes, the bloom, the heavy, the use of like tonal lighting. Like there's some very, very dark scenes, and not dark like dark, scary dark, but literally dark on the screen, like the color palette being muted purples and blues, and they reflect very well on the characters and what's going on. I think that you can point then to the directing being pretty strong in a lot of this. Not that it's super creative in a lot of ways, though I will say episode 3 had a number of unique turnabouts and interesting ways of parallax and shot compositions being utilized to get some motion in there, because at the end of the day, Spice and Wolf is a lot of two people talking back and forth at each other. But they do a ton with the directing to not only liven that up, but convey the emotions. And this really goes into the next thing that I want to talk about, which is the single biggest thing everybody was worried about. And that, of course, is the music. And it's Kevin Penkin. Yes, you people were worried about Kevin Penkin doing the music. Mind blowing in the first place. Anyway, there's a very established, like, not medieval, but what's the word? Yeah, medieval flair to the music. A lot of like lutes and stringed instruments. You got some violin in there, another thing in the more tense scenes. All the compositions totally fine. Just absolutely as perfect as you would expect. Like if you've seen Made in Abyss, you know exactly what you're getting into with the music. But what you may not know or you may not appreciate is just the way that the music is turned into a impactful and meaningful tool to convey the emotions of what's happening in the actual show. Like it feels like Penkin composed the tracks to the line reads of the characters. I'm not even messing. Or you should probably just credit this to the directing, which where it would fall under. But it was immaculate that they would be having a light and cheery conversation, and then there'd be some like upbeat violins and plucky strings, and then the conversation would take a turn, right? Or there'd be a more sinister web being woven, and then the music would change along with that and reflect that right as the line delivery reflected that. And it was really meaningful that on the surface nothing changes, and I mean visually. Like you still see the same character. Oh, it was in episode 3 when Holo listens to Lawrence and the I forget the deceptive merchant's name in the first story, but the guy with missing the tooth, and they're having the conversation, and then Holo just doesn't say anything for like 3 minutes straight, and then she has this whole long thing, and then talking, going off, and the merchant's like, "Oh, you got a great wife there, buddy," that scene, and that was when the music was really a large part of that. As soon as she started talking, it like takes off into not a different track, but like a completely different feeling. And it really gave the impression, even though the visuals are exactly the same, the lighting didn't change at all, but then things have twisted. And this is, really reflective of what Spice and Wolf does, right? On your surface, you must remain calm and cool in all these merchant dealings. But to clue the viewer into the subtleties of how the conversation is shifting, and I think they do this again with the apples and the furs, right? When Holo talks, that you get this musical cue that things are changing, and there's a subtlety here that you need to pay attention to. Again, my Japanese is not good enough to know exactly what she was saying, and of course, Holo talks like a 1,000-year-old creature in Japanese too. So I was still stumbling over the like pronouns she uses. I was like, what? Yeah, just a lot of like really basic stuff because she talks like a weirdo. But that music helped me clue into like, oh, she called the bluff, or she's going off, and she's it was very easy to follow the plot of the story using the music, not only because I obviously know the story through and through. Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, we didn't make it to the end of the Trini Silver Coin devaluation scheme, or the end of the first story. So, I'm really looking forward to the confrontation in the sewer. Okay, while we're on directing, let's talk about a couple of the scenes. One of the things I did notice them doing was using a substantial amount of flashbacks to break up the scenes a little bit more. That Lawrence and Holo's first meeting, it gets a flashback later in the I think it's the first episode or maybe the second, and so you don't see the whole thing on the first time. It kind of like cuts away and then back to it, and the same thing happens later on in the story, just so you don't have this extended scene. And I think it really worked well. It really did give a feel of like ooh back and forth. Thought that was very good. Was not, while the character art looked better, there wasn't too much motion or animation in some places. There's lots of far shots. I'm sure you can find some quality screenshots if you're looking hard. There wasn't any horse going like this that I saw, but yeah, maybe we'll see in the future. Which is good. It means it's a manageable production, and boy, do I ever hope that they continue past where the original anime left off, and then follow the Eve storyline and everything that happens in there, and Winfell, and all the jazz. I hope we get to see some Cole. But let's see what else I have in my notes. Lovely directing. Flashback. Yeah. Zarin. That was his name. That's the name of the merchant, right? Oh, it's not. When I read the manga for the first time this past year, the manga is like horny on a level that is wild, and this is not as much. It's about on par as the original. Lawrence does have maybe 3 more lines on his muscles when he gets shirtless in episode 2, but it's still, he doesn't have any nipples, right? Like, it's not, you don't see Holo's nipples either, so it's like, it's not as horny, but I think you do get a bit less of the plot, if I had to say. Overall, there's a bit less of the plot and a bit more of the relationship between Lawrence and Holo. And I think the scene that was really good for that was the been hunted by wolves. Like Lawrence remembers his past trauma of being hunted by wolves, and Holo is a wolf, right? And she, someone must maintain the forests, and like she's upset that she offends Lawrence in that back and forth dialogue, and um, that scene always felt a little weird in the context of the greater story of that first story. But I think at the same time, the way they did it, it really put that emphasis there and really showed how much this rendition of Spice and Wolf really wants to care about the relationship between Lawrence and Holo first, and then maybe the mechanics of the plot of the economics second. And great, I think that's, maybe I'm over exaggerating this, but I felt like that was really what I came to like, especially in the later chapters of the light novels. That's obviously what I think a lot of people came to like, that Spice Wolf is a romance story. That shouldn't be provocative to say that, right? And I don't know, you have to go scene by scene, but I did come away feeling that, yeah, there's a little more romance here than I remember there being in the original anime. Oh boy. Yeah. Let's see if we have anything else here. Let's see that I'm still recording. Am I still recording? Yep, we're still going. 21 minutes. I'm not editing this shit. You all can watch this. Episode 3 had good directing. Yeah, it turns out writing in a dark movie theater isn't very doesn't lead to very quality writing. It's very hard to read. Yep, we talked about wide shots. We talked about the pacing. Yep. Nora. Yep. They only played the opening and the ending once. I was kind of pissed. Like it was like they cut out everything else, and even the credits. I was actually looking forward to the credits to see, you know. But no, nope. Yeah, we're good. We're good. I think we covered almost everything that I had notes on that I wanted to talk about. This is Spice and Wolf. This is my overall impressions, right? Like, this is just Spice and Wolf. This is Spice and Wolf again. It really felt like watching Spice and Wolf, which, hey, I like that, right? It's one of my favorite shows, right? This felt like it will become the definitive version of Spice and Wolf. Yes, absolutely. And I feel very confident in them continuing this series. Like, it didn't feel like this crazy production of like, how did this get made? Incredible. This will never happen again. Or like, I could see this continuing for 50 episodes. I could see them doing this if the support is there. Man, I really love it if there was more past this first season. Like I said, I want to see Cole. I want to see the Northern Lands. I want to see a narwhal, at least a narwhal. Oh man. Yeah, looked good. Looked much better than the original. Felt great to watch. I think it would be very hard to be a fan of Spice and Wolf and then be disappointed by this anime. It would be. It would be. I'm trying to even conceive of somebody who would look at this and say, "Oh no, this is nothing compared to the original." And it's like, no, man, this is kind of like if you took the original and then brushed up everything and then kind of like polished the things that were really good and like turned it all around and presented it again. It's I'm not a Full Metal Alchemist fan, but I think this is much closer to a one-to-one remake or retelling than any other anime property that I think I've ever seen remade. Yeah. To the point where I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do now? Are you gonna do the whole Miller story, right? And then what was the one in the first 5 stories that they skip out on? I think it's the Miller story in the light novels. Yeah, are you going to be like super accurate here? Bang, 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 bang. Are you going to do that? that really cool side tale with the ancient beast spirit in the thing, and the kid and the older girl who run away from the place. You remember that one, Side Story 2? Oh, that one's so good. Oh, so good. Yeah, what are we going to see here in the future is what I came out thinking. You know, I I went in not really knowing what to expect, but I came out thinking, yes, this is Spice and Wolf. It is the definitive Spice and Wolf. Now, how much are you going to give me? All my fears, all my concerns are pushed to the background and said, this is a good representation of this story. Now, give me more. So I guess that's the best thing you could possibly say about Spice and Wolf. Yeah, I think that's where I'll end it. It's already probably too long of a review video, but if you liked this, if you liked me rambling on about directing and stuff, go check out my other video content on my channel for stuff like Madoka Magica or The Adolescence of Utena. If you want to hear me talk about Holo, I have a Holo the Wise Wolf in defense of video. Yes, that is up, and I'm glad I made that. Glad I made that before this new anime is coming out. So go check that out too, and stay tuned for other stuff that I'm doing while I'm living in Kyoto for the year. Any other stuff, I will be going to visit the Kyoto Animation Memorial later in the summer. I'll be going to the Sailor Moon Museum when it comes back to Osaka. What else do I have planned? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe making more content based on seasonally airing anime. It's going to be a big season this year, or for spring of 2024. I think it's going to be a pretty good seasonal season. Got a lot of stuff I'm watching. So yeah, might do some content on it. But anyway, I'm not going to edit any of this because why? Yeah. All right.